You're getting heavier every year, despite eating a healthy, low-fat diet like everybody else. What are you doing wrong? In fact, eating like everyone else is part of the problem. The standard diet has skyrocketed North Americans to be heavier than they've ever been before. Back in 1960, 31.5% of the population was overweight. 13.4% were considered obese, while only 0.9% of the population was extremely obese. Let's compare those numbers to 2010, where 32.7% of people were now considered overweight, 36.1% obese, while 6.6% were now extremely obese. Although many will try to tell you that the answer to this problem is exercise, I want to show you that the true answer is to change our diet. We need to eat a diet that provides our body what it needs to build and repair efficiently. The modern diet is quite different than what was eaten prior to the 1900s. Our ancestors ate a diet that prioritized protein and fat, which is what our body really needs in order to build itself and repair itself properly. Although we ate plants, the vegetation on our plate was not the main portion of the meal. It was a side dish. In fact, our diet focused on the protein. But how did we get here? And in order to really understand that, we need to look at the decade that they called the Roaring Twenties. That was the 1920s. So between the two world wars and just before the Great Depression, North America, the United States in particular, was in a time of prosperity. Everything was improving. Financially, people were doing well. There was a focus on enjoying life, and that translated into extravagant meals. Our knowledge of bottling foods to preserve them, which started back in 1809, improved over the course of years. And eventually, we came up with other methods to make foods more shelf stable, which had a huge impact on the types of foods that Americans were having on their plate on a regular basis. These were not the foods that our great-great-great-grandparents were eating. In those roaring 20s, with the advent of refrigeration and our increased wealth, we were eating things like oysters, Rockefeller, icebox cakes, chocolate bars and finger sandwiches, pineapple upside down cake. Not only were these foods high in fat, they were also high in carbohydrate. And the icebox cakes, chocolate bars, bread, and other shelf-stable foods started to represent Americans, Canadians' acceptance of processed foods in our daily diet. But worse, it normalized these foods as equivalent to healthy whole foods. Your diet is making you fat and sick. We are living in amazing times. We have medical advancements that allow us to combat most ailments and live well into our 90s. And we use that medical system. The research shows that 66% of adults in the United States take a prescription medication. We are living longer, but in bodies that are weak and prone to disease. In the 1960s, 50% of the American population was living at a healthy weight. By 2010, unfortunately, 24.5% of Americans were living at a healthy weight. The more processed foods we add to our lives, the more sugar we allow in our diets, the more we focus on fun foods, the heavier we are getting. It is time to change your diet and reclaim your health. But what diet should you choose? There's a lot of evidence that shows that simply removing processed foods from your diet will dramatically improve your health. To do this, you would need to remove pasta, bread, cookies, all canned foods, cereals, all boxed foods, basically everything on the interior aisles of the grocery store. That honestly seems like an impossible task to most people. And that's precisely why it's not presented as an option. But what happens if you actually do it? There's more at stake than being overweight. As I mentioned before, processed foods are high in sugar. Sugar has a very damaging impact on the body. I know that you know someone with diabetes. What you may not know is that every overweight person is insulin resistant, the stage just before diabetes. Are you overweight? If so, insulin resistant. And as if that wasn't scary enough, many adults don't become overweight. The damage that's being done by the sugar causes joint pain, PCOS, inflammation of the digestive tract, skin conditions, and many other health issues that are a direct result of overeating sugar. People who stop eating processed foods and excessive amounts of sugar solve their joint pain, solve their inflammation issues, experience clearer thought, increase their energy, and have significant weight loss. I know that that seems like a bold claim to make. When I first heard it, I couldn't believe that eating pasta was causing the immense amount of pain in my hip that was stopping me from doing my sports and causing me to limp every single day. But after a month and a half of research and ever increasing pain, I started to realize how much sugar was in those processed foods I was eating and that I needed to get them out of my diet. Unfortunately, at that time, there was not a lot of information on how to remove these things out of my diet. What was I going to eat? So I had to do more research, and that's how I learned about the keto diet. Most people talk about the amazing weight loss that you get from a keto diet, but I'm here today to tell you about how life-saving keto was for me. The inflammation in my hip was gone within 3 months. But more importantly, the inflammation in my knees, the inflammation in my back, the inflammation in my elbow, the inflammation in my neck that I had been living with for years. The inflammation in my knees started when I was in my 20s. That's 23 years, 24 years of pain gone. If I had known earlier, I'm not special. You can do what I did. Stop eating processed foods and you will improve your life. This video right here is going to help you understand how to cut down on those processed foods. I can't wait to talk to you again next Thursday. Until then, prioritize health over the taste of food.